All right, so I finally got my new toy and I'm so excited to show it to you guys. So without wasting any further time, let's dive right into it. Okay, so this is the HeadRush MX5. Let me just turn it on and show you how it looks. The lights flash and then the beautiful MX5 graphic comes on. Hasn't loaded up yet. It's going to load. And it's going to load the last rig that you were working on. Okay, right. So I have two rigs here. This is not a full tutorial on how to use the entire HeadRush MX5, but I'm going to show you how to create rigs and how you can create these two particular rigs that I've already created. Now, quick draw. You can just click on the three dots at the top right, click on new rig here, and start adding a bunch of stuff there to make your own rig. Now, a couple of pointers. This input. Okay, so when you need to select something, you can either use the encoder knob. Well, this is just very basic. You'll figure it out yourself. Or you can just double tap on it. All right, so this is the input settings, like whatever happens at the very beginning of your signal chain. It's pretty normal. And okay, so it just have a little section here, which is the basically gate and noise filter features. So you've got a noise filter there and a USB in volume in case if you are using a USB input. And then you've got the input gain, the gate threshold, stuff like that. Okay, all right, so the output is like the end of your chain, the final sound that comes out of your speaker. It kind of takes the entire signal which you have created in your rig using effects and equalizers and stuff, and it kind of works on that. So it's got the rig width set to 100 by default. That's for stereo, so that's good. And then it's got the rig volume set to default as well, which is 0. All right, now in order to create a rig, you can go ahead and start adding effects. Now the first thing usually you would do is add an amp. So I like to use these bottom row boxes because that gives you a chance to add all the effects and stuff at the top. But you can use anything anywhere, and you can just select an amp. Let's go ahead and try a Misapuki. Okay, modern. And in case if you want to move boxes, you can just drag and you can just move them around. Okay, so this, when you add an amplifier, a cabinet, a matching cabinet, so a matching cabinet is going to come along with it. Now, well, you would actually be using your own speaker to output sound from this. So create your rig around that instead of just adding a cabinet sound to it, unless you want a specific type of cabinet sound. In that case, you can just modify the cabinet settings. You can change the cabinet settings to whatever you want. You can select a mic, condenser or dynamic mic, but we won't be using cabinet. So whatever it is that gets added to this entire rig board and you don't want it, you can just hold it and drag it down and you can delete it, get rid of it. So we're not going to actually create the entire rig. I'm just going to show you the settings, so you can pause the video or take a screenshot and just copy and create your own and then modify the settings a bit to get there. So let's move, start changes and move back. Okay, one more. Okay, so we're going to talk about two different rigs here. And this is, I've created sort of a metal sound. Now before we jump into creating rigs and I start telling you what stuff to add first and what stuff to add later and stuff like that, there's one important thing that you need to remember. Every guitar pickup will have a different sound. So you need to first select a pickup on your guitar on which you will actually be modifying or creating this rig around, right? So you need to select that first. So in a sense, everything is going to be turned off. Nothing is going to stay on, right? right? And then this is the sound of your pickup. This is the actual sound of your pickup, which is close to nothing. Okay, so now that you have a guitar pickup sound that you like, that you wouldn't want to build your rig around, we can go ahead and start adding stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this thing completely off so that we can start adding stuff to it, and it will be like we're creating a new rig altogether. So first thing I do is go ahead and add an amp. Now it's not going to end since a matching cabinet gets added automatically. I've long deleted it. So all we have now is this cabinet, and I didn't actually make much changes to it. It's Soldano extended range. The pickup selector I have on is the bridge pickup, and it's set to full tone, so the tone's not rolled off, because I want it to be as sharp and as out as it can be, because I'm going to set my equalizers and tone settings on this pickup so that later on I can get different pickup sounds when I'm changing pickup selectors. That's another thing. When you are done creating a rig and you're changing your tone knob and your pickup selector and you don't feel any difference, it means that you did something wrong, or maybe it's not what you would want really, because you would not want to completely depend on this piece of hardware, but also depend just a little bit and want to be able to control stuff from what you have in your hands, which is your guitar. So using your pickup selector, your volume knob, which can be used for gain, and your tone knob. All right, so keeping that in mind, this is the amplifier that I select, and it comes with a default preset, so that just stays selected by default. Now here's the thing, all of these values would probably be set to 50%, and you may want to play around with them. Okay, so these are the values that I have come to find to my liking for this particular preset for this amp model. Okay, so the gain is set to 90% because I want a metal tone. So I'm gonna need gain, and then presence is set to 20% because we don't need to be overly loud, and we're going to be cutting out frequencies later on using equalizers, and we're going to be adding delays and reverb, so that's going to take care of that. The master volume, leave it as it is, set to 50%. The treble, I've increased it about 15 to 65%, and mids. So the mids at 80 because when your guitar kicks in, if you are a rhythm guitarist or most probably a solo guitarist, when you're playing a metal guitar, you would want to sing over the vocalist, or maybe you just want to dominate the sound, so you are gonna need mids, high mids. Now some say it's a mid, some say it's not a mid. Well, it doesn't matter. Okay, so you can change it. You can set it to 0, you can set it to 100, you can set it to 1,000,000 if you want. Whatever works for you. This works for me, so it's sitting at 80. Okay, so the next part, when you click these two arrows, you get to go to the sort of the next page or the next setting band or the amplifier, and then you have the setting for bass. It's set to 57%. The tremolo is off, and then you've got the speed, which is, again, everything is default. Depth, I've kind of increased it to 85%. The sync is off here. We want tails to be on, not sync, so sync stays off, and the bright again is on. So if you turn off the brightness, there's not much difference yet, but it's gonna make a difference later on, so let's leave it at that. Okay, so that's your amplifier setting. Now I've removed the cabinet already. My guitar is still full tone and on the bridge pickup, so Next, we're gonna want to add a reverb to it. So I added a little reverb to it, and so that makes a little difference. Now you may not be hearing that much volume right now, but it'll come later on. Okay, so the reverb settings are okay. I've created a preset of my own, and you've got a lot of presets in here that you can select from. But if you happen to set it up to a setting that you like, remember to hit on save at the top, and then you can click on save new preset, and you can give it some name, and then you can use it later on as well, just in case if you don't remember the settings. So the reverb that I added was the same way, clicking the plus box and then going to the reverb and delay section, then 11 reverb, and in 11 reverb I choose medium plate, and I roll the decay off to about 46%. Now here's what I want. I want the full tone here to be at 100%. I'll lower down the delay to about 9 milliseconds. The mix about 60%. That's how much I want this reverb to be a part of this rig. And the tails should be on. Now if your tails are off, you're gonna have a really choppy cut when you stop playing. So you want your tails to be on. Alright, so you'll feel the difference later on. So these are the settings for the reverb. Once you've added the reverb, you go ahead and add an air delay. So again, in the same section you'll find it, reverb and delay. So this is how I set the delay. Now I have two presets for a reverb here because I also am going to add an amp later on for my clean sound, which is going to have a different reverb setting. A different delay setting. So this, let me show you real quick. So the drive delay setting is this. You can just pause it or take a screenshot here, and this is on the next screen. And the clean preset is this. Again, you can pause the video, take a screenshot of this, and the next screen again, it's pretty much the same as the previous one. So not a lot of changes, but yeah, you may want to change a few settings here and there because you may need different delay levels when you're playing with distortion and clean. It all kind of actually depends on what type of sound you're going for. So once that is done, next we're going to add a graphic equalizer. Now so this is my neck pickup. When I switch to my bridge pickup and I roll the tone off, I can actually do this. Right? So if I'm on my neck pickup, my bridge pickup with my tone rolled off, this is how it's gonna sound. And this is how it will sound if it's on the bridge pickup with full tone. So you see, already we are getting different sounds from different pickups. Now that is exactly what you want from your rig. That's on the neck pickup with tone rolled off. All right, let's go back to the bridge pickup with full tone. And now we're gonna go back, and this time we're gonna go ahead and add distortion to it. Okay, at this point I actually added an IR, and impulse response. So you would find default input responses here, or you can download a bunch from the internet. They're available online for free and paid and everything. But if you learn to create one for yourself, it's not that hard. They're basically just 4 settings here. So there's gain, there's a high cut, there's low cut, and there's mix. So I want my low cut frequencies to cut at like about 100 hertz, and just about 7,000 hertz is where I want my high cut shelf to be, and the gain is set to -8, and mix 100%. Well, why wouldn't you? So that's what it is about this IR. When you go back, and adding the IR makes a lot of difference with the IR turned off. So you see what kind of difference the impulse response makes. It's a really important part. Don't think of it as something that you can avoid. Try not to avoid it. It's really important. So that's without the IR. With the IR turned on, the sound comes to life. So that's on the bridge pickup with the tone full. That's on the neck pickup with the tone full. And if I roll off the tone, so you see I can actually go ahead and change sound. I can pretty much control the sound from my guitar itself. So that's where these settings basically come into play. So next thing I would be adding is a distortion pedal. So I just need it for tone. So I added the green it's a green JRC. It's called Overdrive, which is basically the Ibanez tube screamer. So you just go ahead and add that. You can use drive if you want. You can set the drive to full. Right? It completely depends on you, but I don't need that much drive because I'm already using an amp that has enough drive. So there. So I just, while playing it, I went ahead and changed the pickup selector and the sound changed. Anyway, so that's a tube screamer, and then I added anxiety OD. Now about the tube screamer overdrive and the anxiety OD, these both of them are really nice. Now I'm gonna basically go ahead and create another video bridge. Okay, so, and this is how it sounds. Okay, and let's see. Yeah, so with this off, and with the anxiety already turned on, you can get a good sound. Okay, so moving on, you add a noise filter there. The noise filter is basically just to take away whatever little hum is there when you're playing the guitar, and that is not going to take away your calluses from on your fingers rubbing on your guitar strings, but it is going to take away whatever hum you have in an idle position on whatever pickup. And then you go ahead and add the para EQ. Just go ahead and note down these settings. Just take a screenshot or pause the video. We'll talk about them later. This is basically nothing. This is just a 4-band equalizer. So if you've used any equalizer, any graphic equalizer in a DAW, digital audio workstation, like say Cubase or Ableton, you've used Ozone elements and stuff like that, so you would know that you can move stuff around and it kind of creates a waveform. So this is exactly the same thing. These are just the parameters that you're setting here manually. And then you can go here, you've got the 4th note as well, and then you set it to peak because we don't want shelves, we basically want peaks. So if you want to know the difference between peaks and shelves, that's a detailed video I'll make on it later on, or you can just search online. So you can just note down the settings or pause the video. It's not that difficult. Again, if you like some settings, you can just play around on each one, and whatever you like, whatever fits best for you, you just leave it there, and remember to save it as a preset. Now, it's probably a good time to tell you that I have few settings in my global settings already set for the EQ, for the global EQ. So again, you can take a screenshot of this or pause the video and see what settings I'm working with. This is not a lot different than what the stock or the factory setting comes with. So let's go back to our rig. And then our rig is complete. Now all we need here okay, so all we need now is you can add a wah pedal. I like the black wah. It's built on based on the Jimi Hendrix or the Crybaby model. You can turn it off or on from here, and you can also turn off the wah with the wah pedal itself. You can just press on it to click it, and then it turns off. You click it again and it turns back on, or you can just use this third thing. Now this is not how you would see it by default, this clean and drive. These are basically scenes that I've created. I'll explain them to you in just a bit. Now here's how it kind of looks. So if you press and hold down the first foot switch, it gives you these 3 options, and what you have by default is the hybrid mode. So the first, this thing, the clean that you see, is actually scene 1 that I've created. I'm just going to tell you about it in a bit. But if you've not created any scenes yet, or if a rig does not have any scenes, it's just going to show you the first effect or the first pedal that's added to it, and then the rest of the 2 foot switches will be assigned to previous rig and the next rig. But you don't really need them, because you can go up and down the bank by using the, you can go down the bank by using the left 2 foot switches, and you can go up the bank by using the right 2 foot switches. So what I like to do is press and hold down the first foot switch and kind of set it to stomp mode, or this, right? So what it does is I can just use switch between profiles here, kind of clean and drive. So clean and drive. Right, so in the clean one, now what I've done here is I went ahead, I've added another amp because I didn't like the clean sound of this amp, so I went ahead and add another amp, and this is a Tangerine. This is based on the orange model, and I'm basically doing nothing here, leaving it almost as it is, and this is basically what I just set it to be. And hang on, let's just do drive. And when you go to clean, it gives you a clean sound. We turn it on. Alright, whatever. So you can basically just create different scenes so that you can stomp on the foot switches and you can switch. Now here's how you do it. Leave everything on first, and then when, like, what I mean is, like, this is off right now, so leave it on. Right, so leave everything on. Let me check if it works. Yeah. So once you leave everything on, you just go to these three dots and go to hardware assign. And when you go to hardware assign, you will get this screen. Now this screen originally is going to have toggle written over here. So you press toggle like this one does. It says toggle. So you click on toggle and then it turns to this. And then you can just click on scene 3 and you can just go ahead and type a scene in there. Right? You can type in anything. It's done, and you can click on toggle here, so it becomes a toggle switch instead of a scene switch. Okay, and then you click on edit here. Once you've set the name, you can click on edit. Once you click on edit, you can choose whatever it is that you want with the effects and those blocks to happen when you stomp on that foot switch. So it's scene 1 assigned to foot switch 1. I want the overdrives to be off, the noise filter to be no change, which means it's not turning off, it's not turning on, it's just remaining, it's just staying as it is. So no change means if in the previous rig you've touched it to change it to off, when you stomp on to switch to drive, it's not going to turn back on automatically because it's not set to on. So unless I set it to on here, it's not going to do that on command when you stomp on that foot switch. Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so the amp to this here in clean, I want this to be on, right? And then I want this amp to be off when it goes to clean, because this is the distortion amp and this is the clean amp. And the graphic equalizer, I don't want it to change because I'm not going to be turning these off anyway. That's why the noise filter, the wah, and the graphic equalizer and everything is set to just no change, because whatever we set them to be, I just want them to remain as it is. The next is air delay. I don't want any change happening to the air delay, but I do have, again, these two presets like we discussed before. So this is the purpose of the presets, different presets. I can switch between clean and drive by using the the foot switch. So I leave it to no change, the status of it, on and off, and I select the preset though. So when I stomp on it and go to the clean mode, it's going to select a different preset, and the same with the reverb. Now the reverb and the delay both are going to remain on or off based on their current position or state, but the only thing that's going to change is the preset. Then the impulse response, the IR, I don't want anything to happen to it, and nor do I want anything to happen to the para EQ or the graphic EQ. So that's how a scene is created. Then you can go ahead and select a color at the top, so that foot switch light will basically light up with whatever color you select here. As you can see, it's changing. Oh god. Okay, and then you can go back and you can go and edit the next scene. So in the next scene here, I want the distortion pedals to be on. Again, noise filter no change. The amplifier, the clean amplifier, is going to be set to off. Now why do I not set it to no change is because in case if it gets turned on, it's going to remain on because it's not going to change its state. So that's why I specifically want that thing to go off when I stomp on the drive foot switch. I want the distortion amp to come on. Graphic equalizer no change, again air delay to just change the preset. Same with the reverb, change the preset, IR and para EQ, and then the color at the top, you can select it here. So that's your scene is set. And then you can just go here and click on save, and click on save, or save new rig if you haven't saved your new rig yet. When you click on save new rig, you can just go ahead and give a name to it. Now here's another thing on this hardware assign page. You can assign the pedal, or it should already be assigned as soon as you add a wah or a volume pedal to it. Now here's the thing I usually like to set here's the thing that I usually like to set to my wah pedal is the range. Instead of going from 0 to 100, I give it a nice tight spot, so I set it from 15 to 85. So yeah, okay, so this is your rig ready, and once you hit on clean, it's going to give you a clean sound. Right, like that. And then when you switch to drive, it's gonna go into the drive mode. Now here's the thing, you can change the sound of it using the pickup selector and the tone knob. Alright, so that's about it with the metal rig. Now I have another rig here that I've created for rock. I've created it the same way, and I'll quickly just go ahead and open each thing up so that you can just take down the settings. And clean, this amp is off, this amp is on drive, this amp is off, and this amp is on. So the same thing here, kinda. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give you a rundown of the settings here quickly so that you can take them down. So wah, then the noise filter, which is basically just a very default, and then this again, the clean amp, same as before. And the next here is the same overdrive. In this, it has a little different settings. And then you've got the distortion amp here, and then the graphic EQ. So as you saw, I'm using a preset from before. Then air delay, again I'm using a preset from before because I kind of like those presets and they work for me. And the IR, right? So make what little changes you have to make, and then you can actually save them as your own preset. So it comes with different presets, so I create my own presets because I want to use them. I want to be able to use them later on without going back into the rig and checking the settings out or remembering what they were. And then the last thing again is the para EQ. So it's a little different. You can just note it down. Alright, so that's about it. And you can just click on save and save your rig. And again here, it's the same thing when you're on clean, right? And you can change sound from your pickup selector. This is the muddy sound because the tone is rolled off, and I'm on the neck pickup. When I switch to the bridge pickup and I open the tone up, I get this sound. I'm a little hesitant. I don't know if I can play this or not. Anyway, so yeah, what the heck. Okay, so and when I switch to drive, I can basically again either do this, or I can just switch to my say neck pickup and roll the tone off, and you can get that sound. Alright, so that's about it, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, keep rocking.